Am you ready?
Yeah.
Hold up.
My name is Liam Smith. I'm a junior on the men's rowing team here at Wisconsin. Many of you guys probably have seen me around campus, athletic facilities, and I stand out. That's because I have a form of dwarfism called hypochondroplasia. I've had it since birth. It's something I'll have for the rest of my life. So with that, there's different medical complications, so I couldn't participate in any physical contact sports growing up. So I actually started in Cub Scouts, eventually made it all the way through Boy Scouts and Eagle Scout, but during Cub Scouts I was introduced to the sport of archery. Took that sport all the way as high as it could go into national competitions and then also international competitions as a part of the 2013 World Dwarf Games. I was also introduced into the sport of swimming. It had been something I had done for a while, but then picked that up. And then during some of my first competitions, I found the US Paralympic side of swimming. I got classified, represented the United States nationally and internationally at the 2019 Lima Pan American Games. With my disability, it's visible. It's going to be visible for the rest of my life. And I'd say people treat me in two different ways. The first way is they just see everything I do as just normal day-to-day, just like everyone else. I'm just a normal person. Like last summer, I ran a marathon. And so we were like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But I still ran the same amount of distance as everyone else. It's something I can't hide every day. It's gonna be apparent, it's gonna be visible. Yes, I always kind of think about that. You know, how am I portraying myself? What are people gonna think? I've become hyper aware of everything. So sometimes I can see little kids staring, which I understand because sometimes I'm the first person with dwarfism that they've ever seen in their life. Both my parents are average height, so me having dwarfism, I'm 1 in 40,000. But also there's times where it's just some people, they're just kind of stupid with what they say. A couple years ago, I was at the grocery store helping my mom with the grocery bags and the cart greeter said, oh, aren't you mommy's little helper? And I was about to kind of lose it, but my mom was like, let's just keep going. Some people are genuinely curious, and I've developed a sense of, you know, when to know that when a question is actually curious or just kind of them just trying to be snide and snark about it. Intimidating, just being different again in this sport of rowing. Standard height's like 6'3", 6'4", so these people I'm kind of in command of as the coxswain are obviously much bigger than me, but then also sometimes they look upon me as the leader of the boat when we're out there. Amongst other athletes, it's always been really supportive. As a coxswain, you know, being smaller, that's an advantage you can have rather than being the largest guy in the boat. So among other athletes I've always interacted with, it's always been really supportive. When I came in, I always thought, you know, everyone's got all their stuff lined up. They know what they're gonna do the next year. They know what they're gonna do 4 years down the road, but in reality, that's not how it goes. People change majors, they change jobs, and kind of knowing that it's all part of the learning stages. You're gonna learn, you're gonna meet people that change how you think, how you interact with other people, and you know, just keep reflecting upon that. As someone with dwarfism, there aren't entirely a lot of role models to look up to. Obviously Peter Dinklage, that's a big one, Zach Roloff. With some of these experiences I've had, I'm the first, which is one, daunting at times, but also really cool to kind of be the first one in this aspect and then trying to set a standard or some sort of rules that people then can follow me into this spaces. It's got to be my dad. He's always taught me to just, you can't change the cards you're dealt, just how you play the hand. I've just been dealt what I've been dealt, and then kind of being able to use that as some of my experiences. He was also an Eagle Scout, so that's kind of how I got into Boy Scouts, and then he's been with me every step of the way, kind of pushing with what I want to do in life and always fully there. So with Paralympic swimming, there are 14 classifications. S1 through S10 are physical impairments, S11 through S13 are visual, and then S14 is cognitive. As a dwarf, you're usually typically classified in an S5 through S7 classification. When I started Paralympic swimming, I was classified as an S6. With dwarfism, you can be in those three classifications based on your height. So I grew, as people normally do, and then I became an S7, which just means the time standards are a little bit faster. you're racing against people who are a little bit taller. But the sad thing is, there are height maximums. I outgrew my classification. And it wasn't like I could just go S7 to S8. So basically, I wouldn't say it's an injury, but I can no longer Paralympically swim due to this classification rule, which has had its own mental setbacks, something I think about every day, because still my friends, a lot of them that I made throughout the years, are still swimming competitively, and kind of that's an area that I've been barred from in a sense. I'd say there's a lot. Some of them just rewarding, just being able to show up every day to the boathouse, with practices. Obviously you're going to be hard, the weather's not going to be the most favorable, but when you get to do that with some of your closest friends day in and day out is really cool. But also competitively, I was selected to represent the United States Paralympic team at the 2019 Pan American Games in Peru, where I medaled 5 times, which was really cool to be able to see all the work I'd been able to put in over many years actually turn into something on an international stage. I guess develop a routine. That's been huge for me. So I've gotten into journaling, I've gotten into talking to people, and kind of when you have that set routine, you can keep yourself accountable. And then when you're able to stay accountable, you kind of still be able to manage all those facets of your life. At times, I've gotten into ruts, but kind of refocusing to those things, finding a niche that you're into. I've really gotten into running and kind of just being able to set the pace and just cruise, kind of just wipe the mind, just think. But then also, I know it's cliche, I know people say it all the time, but being able to reach out, but also not reaching out as the person when you're in need, but also reaching out to someone you see that's in need. Paying attention to your friends, if they're acting a little bit different, even if they're not, sometimes just taking that time and extra step can really make someone's day, change their life. I guess personally, we each deal with our struggles. We each are fighting our battles every day, and something my coach says is you got to keep pushing the rock up the hill every day. And then obviously you can have setbacks, you can slip, but as long as you keep trying to progress, better yourself and those around you, you can make this place a better world.